Why do I keep asking other people what I should do? This is a fantastic question. And the very first thing I want to point out is the word should. Because we don't usually ask other people, what do I want? We ask, what should I do? And that tells us something. It tells us that somewhere in that moment, we are moving away from our own answer and looking for somebody else to give us the correct one. We're handing over a little bit of our power, a little bit of our authority. We're abdicating our responsibility and a little bit of our inner sense of control. And often that's because we don't trust ourselves. We don't fully believe the answer that is actually coming up inside of us. Maybe we can hear what we want, but then the mind gets involved. It'll start saying things like, that's irrational. That's too much. That's not enough. That's selfish. That doesn't make any sense at all. What would people think about you if you did that? What if you're wrong? What if you regret it? So instead of trusting the want, the inner desire and longing, we begin building a case against it. And then we do what many of us have been trained to do for most of our lives. We look outside of ourselves. We look for the expert. Doesn't it remind you a little bit of being a child looking to the parent for an answer? Or the leader, the caregiver, the person who seems more certain than we feel. So we ask them what they think we should do instead of actually listening to ourselves. And sometimes that is useful. Sometimes we genuinely need more information, perspective, or advice. But sometimes we are not really asking for advice. We're asking for someone to like what we want. We're asking for permission. We're hoping that somebody will say, yes, you are allowed to want that thing, without us actually speaking about what it is that we really want. Yes, that makes sense. Yes, you can choose it. Yes, you are not selfish or foolish or irresponsible for wanting the thing that is in your heart. And this is why we often don't ask just one person. Have you noticed? We ask a lot of people. Because you're not necessarily actually looking for an answer. What you're really looking for is the person who will confirm the answer you actually already have. And I want to add another layer to this. When somebody else tells us what to do, it can feel as though we don't have to carry the full responsibility of the choice. If it goes wrong, a part of us can say, well, they told me to do it. Abdicating the responsibility, like I said earlier. And they thought it was a good idea, or I was following their advice. It gives us somewhere else to place the risk. Because making your own choice means also accepting that there's a possibility you get it wrong. It means accepting that there may be consequences, that accountability is present. It means saying that, yes, this was my decision. I chose this. And that can feel very exposing. So asking everybody else what you should do becomes a way of protecting yourself from the vulnerability of choosing. But the problem is that the more you defer to other people, the less opportunity you actually have to build trust in yourself. And self-trust doesn't arrive before you actually make the decision. It's built through making them. The more often you make them, the more often you listen to yourself, the more often you're choosing and seeing what happens and then adjusting, repairing when you get it wrong, and discovering that you can actually survive your own choices builds the self-trust. That doesn't mean you should never ask anyone for advice. Don't get me wrong. It means noticing what it is you're actually asking for. And it's good to convey that to the person you're actually asking. So am I looking for information? Am I looking for another perspective? Or am I asking this person to give me permission to do what I already know I want to do? Am I asking them to make the choice for me? And am I hoping that they will remove the risk of making that choice? Because nobody else can give you complete certainty. And nobody else has to live inside the consequences of your decision in the way that you do. Yes, they can offer perspective, and that is important. Yes, they can help you see what you may be missing, especially if you're talking with a qualified coach. But they cannot tell you what is most true for you. Nobody can. So the next time you notice yourself asking, what should I do? I want you to just take a pause for a moment and reflect, contemplate. What do I already think? What do I want them to say? What am I hoping they're going to say or hoping the response will be? Which answer would bring me a sense of relief? Which answer am I hoping they don't give me? And what would I choose if nobody else was available to decide for me? You may, of course, still ask for advice. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but now you're asking from a completely different place. Not because you don't trust yourself in this moment, but because you're actually gathering information while staying connected to your actual own inner authority. The goal here is not to stop listening to other people. It's to stop abandoning yourself while you are doing it. Let me know what you thought about today. And if it provoked any thoughts, feelings, or actions for you and in your life. Always looking forward to hearing what's happening on the other side of the camera. So subscribe, like, comment, and of course, if you know somebody in your life that could use a little bit more perspective and orientation around their wants and desires, please feel free to share. See you next time.